End all formal bureaucracy, allow universities to decide their priorities. Allegations of rice syndicates will be investigated. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today instructed the Ministry of Higher Education, the MOHE, to put a stop to the old formal bureaucracy for the ministry to decide on behalf of universities. Speaking at the launching of the Global Intellectual Discourse 2024 at University Malaya today, Datuk Seri Anwar said the ministry must give some space and allow universities to decide on their priorities and proceed with their programs.
Must give some space and to allow for universities to decide their priorities, inform the ministry and proceed. And all form of bureaucracy for the ministry to decide on behalf of the universities must end. I'm suggesting this plainly because of the urgency and recognizing the fact that in some areas, and particularly in the Paisa report, to me is very disturbing. If we use the normal pace, we will be left behind.
In his speech, Datuk Seri Anwar also urged the MOHE to implement clear policies and measures to allow the higher education sector in the country to improve moving forward. On another note, the Prime Minister also encouraged universities to expand certain programs, particularly in artificial intelligence or AI studies, and to probably do more in the years to come.
We don't have enough resources. But whatever is available must be done now, which means, as I told the ministry, I want at least some measures, some form of implementation to be done to be undertaken now, this year, not soon. We talk about artificial intelligence. Okay, we have small funds outside the budget to start with one faculty. But I would certainly encourage universities to expand that program and probably given some years, do a little more. That would render the discourse on the future relevant and meaningful.
Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar also urged for a review of the preschool education system in the country to prevent disparities among the community.
Kalau kita katakan 80% sahaja yang masuk prasekolah dengan kategori berbeza, mungkin 40% baik, selainnya itu agak mediocre, pertengahan dan sekitar 20% sangat lemah. Maknanya tak sampai 50%. Maknanya kita dalam bicarakan soal keadilan, kita sebenarnya melebarkan kesenjangan di antara kota dan desa, kaya kota dan miskin kota, desa dan pedalaman.
As such, Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also the Finance Minister, said that the preschools under the Ministry of Education need to provide additional facilities comprehensively to all students in the country, even if it means the government has to bear new costs. Well, Young Di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Ri'aituddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has consented to the new Sarawak Young Di-Pertuan Negeri candidate, according to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Well, he said the announcement on the matter is expected to be made within a day or two. Elaborating further on the matter, Datuk Seri Anwar said that he presented the name of the candidate to Al-Sultan Abdullah last week after it was submitted to him by Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg.
Premier Abang Johari dan saya telah kebukakan calon nama itu kepada Tuan Agong minggu lalu dan itu telah diperkenan dan akan diumumkan mungkin dalam 1-2 hari ini.
He said this when met by reporters in the nation's capital today. The media reported on Friday that Tan Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar quit his post as Dewan Negara President and will be the next Sarawak Yang di-Pertuan Negeri. Datuk Sri Anwar, however, did not give any confirmation regarding the resignation. Well, age limit and the ownership period of B2 motorcycle licenses are among the factors that need to be considered before the proposal to automatically upgrade to a B license can be finalised. Well, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said that this matter will be finalised in detailed meetings with the Road Transport Department or JPJ and the Royal Malaysia Police Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department JSPT soon.
Apa yang kami telah bicarakan, saudara tadi dengar bahawa ada tempoh tertentu, pertamanya dari segi umur. Pemohon itu mesti berumur 35 tahun ke atas. Yang kedua, memegang lesen B2 itu untuk satu tempoh yang tertentu, barulah layak untuk dapat B full. Ya. Jadi dalam perkara ini kita akan mutamatkan bila mesyuarat terperinci diadakan di antara JPJ dengan pihak JSPT.
He said this to reporters after engagement session with Persatuan Motosikal Malaysia in Putrajaya today. The license issue was raised by participants in the engagement session, which was also attended by Transport Minister Anthony Loke and Deputy Home Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Samsul Anwar Nasara. In August 2023, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid had proposed the automatic upgrade of B2 driving licenses to a B license, which was to be brought to the Transport Ministry for further evaluation. JPJ classifies B2 riding licenses for motorcycles not exceeding 250cc, while Class B involves motorcycles exceeding 500cc. The Agriculture and Food Securities Ministry, or KPKM, through the Paddy and Rice Regulatory Board, will work with the Malaysia Competition Commission, or MyCC, to investigate allegations of syndicates in the country's rice industry. Now, Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Sabu said the investigation is expected to take time, as MyCC needs to understand the overall structure of the industry first. He also said the food chain aspect in the rice sector involves multiple stages, necessitating a detailed and comprehensive investigation.
Siasatan apapun disiasat dari masa ke semasa. Jadi tuduhan satu perkara, siasatan satu perkara yang lain. Dan selepas siasatan itu siap, baru kita bincang di sudut tindakannya. Iaitu jadi siasatan sentiasa berjalan.
He was speaking to newsmen after attending the opening ceremony of the large-scale Smart Paddy Fields, or Smart SBB, Ala Sekinchan at the Permatang Durian Water User Group Merchong Scheme, which was graced and officiated by Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah Ri'ayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah. The Bumiputra Rice Association of Malaysia, BARIM, had claimed that there was a certain game going on within Padi Beras Nasional Berhad, or Bernas, in addition to claiming that cartels were most likely in existence. BARIM President Ismail Awang claimed association members did not receive supplies of local rice from Bernas on the grounds that there was no stock available, while at the same time, most hypermarkets received such supplies. Coming up, Malaysian Franchise Association targets 600 million ringgit sales value for FIM 2024. Well, Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah Ri'ayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah officiated the Ala Sekinchan large-scale Smart Paddy Field, or Smart SBB program at the Permatang Durian KPA Merchong Scheme in Pekan today. Well, Pahang Region Tengku Hasanal Ibrahim Alam Shah, Tengku Arif Bendahara Tengku Muhammad Iskandar Ri'ayatuddin Shah, and Engku Panglima Perang Tengku Ahmad Ismail Muazzam Shah were also in attendance. Well, also present at the ceremony held in Kampung Merchong Mosque were Agriculture and Food Security Minister Dato' Sri Muhammad Sabu and Pahang Menteri Besar Dato' Sri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail. Now, during the program, Al Sultan Abdullah took some time to visit an exhibition, observe the Ala Sekinchan paddy cultivation technique and operate a transplanter machine. Launched in May 2023, the Ala Sekinchan Smart SBB program implements high-yield agricultural practices using the knowledge, attitude and practice approach. The program also aims to increase farmers' income by enhancing productivity through the application of good practices adopted by farmers in Sekinchan, Selangor. In Pahang, the new farming model is supervised by the Pekan Integrated Agriculture Development Area, or IADA, in collaboration with a leading company in the Merchong scheme, covering an area of 4,134 hectares with a total of 1,716 farmers. The Malaysian Franchise Association, or MFA, aims to achieve a sales value of 600 million ringgit from the Franchise International Malaysia Exhibition and Conference 2024, also known as FIM 2024, to be held from 29th May to 1st June this year. Now, MFA President Dato' Radzali Hassan said to date, more than 70% of 240 booths available have been taken up by the franchise companies and various organizations. While he also said that aside from local brands, the event has also drawn interest of exhibitors from Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, China, India and the United Arab Emirates. Dato' Radzali believes that participation in programs like this one of the best steps to strengthen and expand business networks at both the local and international levels. Well, he further noted that the FIM 2024 will also include the Asia Pacific Franchise Confederation, or APFC, and the World Franchise Council, WFC, annual meeting, which will see the gathering of representatives from franchise associations from more than 40 countries, as well as the Franchise Award Night 2024. Meanwhile, commenting on the National Franchise Policy 2030, which will be launched in the first quarter of this year, well, it said the MFA fully supports the policy and believes that the policy is set to further strengthen the industry. The FIM 2024 is fully supported by the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, as well as the Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation. Now, as a reporting institution, Quantum Metal Sendirian Berhad, QMSB, is obliged to undertake measures to prevent its activities from being misused as a conduit for money laundering or terrorism financing activities. So Bank Negara Malaysia, or BNM, through a statement release, however, noted that being a reporting institution does not mean that QMSB's products and business activities such as gold products and trading were registered, approved or licensed under laws administered by the central bank. Now, the central bank said any claims that QMSB's activities are approved and licensed by BNM directly or indirectly are false. So BNM said this to address and clarify several claims and misrepresentations of facts circulating within the public domain in relation to the affairs of QMSB. Now, QMSB is a reporting institution under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, known as AMLA. Now, the central bank said it has also been made aware of various claims on social media that all incoming transactions outside of Malaysia need the approval and verification of BNM in relation to AMLA. Now, the central bank also reminded the public to remain vigilant when making investment decisions, and any suspected unauthorized financial activities should be reported to the relevant law enforcement authorities. On another note, Bank Negara's international reserves rose to $115.1 billion as at 15 January this year from $112.8 billion last year. Now, the central bank said in a statement today that the reserves position was sufficient to finance 5.4 months of imports of goods and services and was one time the total short-term external debt. Now, it said the main components of the international reserves were foreign currency FOMC reserves of $102.5 billion, International Monetary Fund reserves position of $1.3 billion, special drawing rights, or SDRs, $5.8 billion, gold, $2.6 billion, and other reserve assets of $2.9 billion. And total assets stood at 631.17 billion ringgit, comprising gold and foreign exchange and other reserves, including SDRs of 528.35 billion ringgit, Malaysian government papers 13.01 billion ringgit, deposits with financial institutions of 1.19 billion ringgit, loans and advances 24.34 billion ringgit, land and buildings 4.13 billion ringgit, and other assets 60.16 billion ringgit. BNM's capital and liabilities comprise paid-up capital of 100 million ringgit, reserves 186.54 billion ringgit, currency in circulation 164.59 billion ringgit, deposits by financial institutions 157.84 billion ringgit, federal government deposits 19.61 billion ringgit, and other deposits of 40.62 billion ringgit, Bank Negara papers 28.56 billion ringgit, allocation of SDRs 29.74 billion ringgit, and other liabilities of 3.57 billion ringgit. HSBC Bank Malaysia Berhad expects Malaysia to continue to see an upward trajectory in terms of liquid assets held in the first half of 2024, known as 1H24.
HSBC Wealth and Personal Banking Country Head Linda Yip said Malaysia's onshore wealth pool stood at $359 billion in 2022 and is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 3.7% over the next few years. Well, she said from a regional perspective, the growth in private wealth in Asia, resilient spending among the middle class, the acceleration of digital transformation, and the green economy are a boon for economic growth, despite headwinds seen in the global economy. Commenting on the investing trends, Yip noted that HSBC Malaysia's customers have been broadly funneling their wealth into financial instruments such as unit trusts, structured investments, and bonds.
Particularly, how to retire, or how to actually accumulate wealth to retire comfortably and enjoy life while we are in our golden years. Their investment, into solutions like unit trust, structured investments, as well as fixed income, like bonds.
She further noted that there has also been much interest in defensive investments such as money market funds and principal protected investments.
Well, according to the Department of Statistics, Malaysia DOSM said the country's headline inflation rate remained at 1.5% in December 2023, with the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, recorded at 131.2 points versus 129.2 a year earlier. And Chief Statistician Dato' Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said there were lower increases in restaurants and hotels group 3.7%, miscellaneous goods and services 2.7%, as well as food and non-alcoholic beverages of 2.3%. Now, the annual headline inflation in 2023 rose by 2.5% compared with 3.3% in 2022. DOSM said this is due to a 5.6% increase in restaurants and hotels, 4.8% rise in food and non-alcoholic beverages, and 2.4% growth in miscellaneous goods and services. Meanwhile, core inflation increased at a slower pace of 1.9% in December 2023 and still surpassed the overall national inflation rate of 1.5%. In comparison to inflation of other selected countries, the inflation in Malaysia, 1.5%, was lower than inflation in the Philippines, 3.9%, Vietnam, 3.6%, the United States, 3.4%, South Korea, 3.2%, Eurozone, 2.9%, and Indonesia, 2.6%. However, the rate was higher than Thailand at minus 0.8% and China, minus 0.3%. Well, more needs to be done to improve financial literacy among young Malaysians. And Prudential Malaysia Assurance Berhad, or PAMB, said this includes greater awareness of riskier financial instruments. And additionally, more communication is needed about the benefits of protecting incomes and health to instill stability in later life. Now, PAMB Chief Executive Officer Lim Eng Seong said he believes that these steps will help address the issues young Malaysians face regarding their future financial stability. Now, PAMB today released Fulfilling Futures, Seeking Future Financial Security, the Challenges Facing Young Malaysians, which is a report written by Economist Impact, which looked at how Malaysians across different age groups are saving for their future and the challenges faced by young Malaysians in becoming financially resilient. The survey found that younger Malaysians are more likely to hold multiple jobs to make ends meet, with 38% in the 25 to 34-year age group stating that they have worked more than one job compared to 26% of those aged between 35 to 44. Now, in terms of savings, the report found that only a quarter, or 25% of those in the 25 to 34 age group contributed to retirement funds such as the Employees Provident Fund, or EPF, whereas 40% of Malaysians in the 45 to 55 age group did so. Well, the Malaysian rubber market fell today amid mounting worries about China's economic outlook and oil prices. Now, a dealer said the People's Bank of China, or PBOC, is keeping its benchmark lending rates at low records, or rather record lows, showing limited headroom for further loosening of monetary conditions and buoying its economic recovery. Now, the one-year loan prime rate, or LPR, was held at 3.45%, while the five-year rate, a reference for mortgages, was kept at 4.2%. On top of that, foreign direct investment into China last year shrank for the first time since 2012 to $157.1 billion, falling by 8% year-on-year. Now, the dealer said the oil market struggle was pressured by demand outlook uncertainty from the largest economies, mainly from the main consumer of natural rubber. Nevertheless, analysts believe oil prospects may improve given the prevailing Middle East conflicts. The Malaysian Rubber Board's MRB price for standard Malaysian Rubber 20, or SMR 20, was down by 4 cents to 717.50 cents per kilogram, while latex in bulk slipped half a cent to 597.50 cents per kilogram. At 5 p.m., the MRB reference price for physical rubber SMR 20 stood at 713.5 cents per kilogram, while latex in bulk was 600.0 cents per kilogram. Well, Taiwanese firm operating in Singapore, Hua Yao International Travel Service Company Limited, and the city's state's largest tour operator, Chan Brothers Travel, recently signed a memorandum of cooperation and agreed to bring 1,000 Singaporean visitors to Taitung in 2024. So in order to attract more overseas travelers, the Taitung County government has actively worked with domestic and foreign companies to hold promotional events since COVID travel restrictions were lifted in the late 2023. Well, following a presentation in Kuala Lumpur on 15 January, the delegation of county officials and business owners went to Singapore, where they called on the country's top 3 travel agencies and held another event, attended by Taiwan's envoy to Singapore, Dr. Tung Chen Yuan, and the director of Taiwan Tourism Administration's office in the Southeast Asian county, or rather country, Cheng Chi-hung. Now, meanwhile, Chan Brothers Travel Executive Director Chan Guat Ching said Taitung has been a favorite destination for Singaporean travelers because of its laid-back atmosphere, beautiful scenery, and indigenous culture. And prior to the activities in Singapore, a presentation was held to brief Malaysian tour operators on travel incentives and highlights, including leisure farms, Instagram-worthy spots, local festivities, indigenous cuisine, and halal-certified restaurants. Well, according to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development, China's financing coordination mechanism for the real estate sector will aim to satisfy the legitimate financing needs of real estate projects precisely, while also supporting the stable and sound growth of the country's real estate market. Now, based on comprehensive assessments of real estate projects and their developers, the mechanism is expected to generate lists of projects eligible for financing assistance according to the plan, which was released by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development and the National Financial Regulatory Administration. Now, the latest data show that in 2023, the space involved in transactions of second-hand homes increased by some 40% year-on-year, and that involved in the sales of newly built commercial homes, which fell by 8.5% year-on-year. Now, for projects that are experiencing temporary difficulties but maintaining a basic fund balance, the mechanism will prevent the hasty withdrawal, suspension and withholding of loans. It will provide support by means of loan extensions, reschedule repayments and the issuance of new loans. Now, the mechanism will propose to financial institutions a white list of real estate projects that can be given financing support based on the development of the project and the real estate developer's qualification. Well, meanwhile, China's central bank has kept its benchmark lending rates unchanged at the monthly fixing today, matching market expectations. Now, the country's one-year loan prime rate, or LPR, which is based on the lending rates that 20 banks give to their best customers, was kept at 3.45%. Now, the five-year loan prime rate, on which many lenders base their mortgage rates, also remained unchanged at 4.2%. Now, despite keeping benchmark rates steady in January, Wen Bin, chief economist of China's Minsheng Bank, believes key policy rates are still likely to be lowered going forward. Now, although the imperative for lowering policy interest rates appear to be low at the moment, indications from the central bank, the prevailing policy landscape and real-world demands suggest a potential for interest rate cuts in the period spanning from March to April, according to Wen in a column on Monday. Well, this strategic move is anticipated to prepare for a measured decline in LPR, which will stabilize and potentially lowering financing costs to boost demand for credit in production and consumption sectors. Oil prices lost more ground today as economic headwinds pressured the global oil demand outlook and offset geopolitical concerns in West Asia and an attack on a Russian fuel export terminal over the weekend. Now, Brent crude fell 23 cents or 0.3% to $78.33 a barrel after settling down 54 cents on Friday. So prices barely budged despite an alleged Ukrainian drone attack at a huge Russian fuel export terminal. And Russian producer Novatek said it had been forced to suspend some operations at the Baltic Sea terminal because of a fire. In the absence, any major escalation, crude is set for range-bound trading with some downward pressure. In West Asia, the Gaza war ravages on while the U.S. struck another anti-ship missile preparing to launch into the Gulf of Aden by Yemen's Houthi group on Saturday. Now, the attacks by the Iran-aligned group in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden have disrupted global trade and also tighten European and African crude markets and push the premium of the first 6-month Brent contract to the 6-month contract to $1.99 on Friday, the widest since November. Now, this structure called backwardation indicates a perception of tighter supply for prompt delivery. Well, the latest demand growth forecast by the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the International Energy Agency, and the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries for 2024 are in a wide range between 1.24 million and 2.25 million barrels per day, although all the three organizations expect demand to decelerate in 2025. Well, China's landslide kills at least 2 dozen. Well, folks, that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. And our top story: end all formal bureaucracy, allow universities decide their priorities. Till then, I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching, and good night.